Hi everyone, it's Paul here from Workhouse, and today I'm in the company of Alex, our studio manager, who's going to talk a little bit about branding and brand authority and what it is and how you develop it. So Alex, what is brand authority?
Yeah, so brand authority is something that gets talked about very often in marketing, and most of the people don't really distinguish it from branding and from brand recognition, but it's a separate topic that we need to address, because brand authority is about the trust that your customers put into you, in the sense that you're an expert in your field. So it's not something that you can decide by yourself, it's more of a perception thing. So in the past, for example, PR companies would do this for other companies, but nowadays with digital and with the websites and social media, marketing companies have taken this up for companies to manage this. So in effect, as an example, if you're a manufacturer, for example, pipes maybe, so you would need to develop an authority on this topic, on this subject, to be recognized in the space, and then you build this brand authority. And once you've built it, many good things might happen to you, because there's a lot of word of mouth advertisement that will be done because of you, because people will go on social and they will say, look, these guys are fantastic at what they do. They make the highest quality stuff. They know their stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of us who do that, we go and check reviews in companies before we buy anything. And often that referral network is much more powerful than anything else in marketing, because end of the day, it's the human to human. It's that trust issue, and that's what authority is all about, isn't it?
So there's actually been a nice Nielsen study conducted a few years back, where multiple marketing channels have been tested, and as expected, the traditional marketing has been declining. The digital space has been increasing. In trust. This is specifically about trust. But one thing that was always unchanged, or maybe changed by 1%, was word of mouth advertisement, because people trust your friends. Right? So your friend says something's good, and therefore you trust them more than, for example, a TV ad or a magazine ad, because you know those are paid for, right? And now your friends are more than the people you know physically. So they're your friends online, on Facebook, on Instagram, or wherever you hang out, whatever your community is. And those people are who you trust. And if these people can establish brand authority for someone, essentially you sold your product. You don't need to put any more advertisement into it, right?
That's excellent. Thank you. So what are the steps involved in building a brand?
It's a pretty complex question, but in the beginning, you have to decide where you want the company to go. Essentially, as Simon Sinek says, think about the why you're doing it. Create your target audience. Find exactly the niche that you need to be competitive as well in that space, and where you're actually an expert, right? Because so many people and so many companies go and say like, oh, we do this, and this. And it's thousands of things that they can do, but they're not really great at any of them. And so they can never break through that ceiling and go like, here, this is my authority on this topic, because they don't have one. They're too general.
I think that's the whole thing about finding your niche. Because I think I remember reading one time that 70% of businesses are general and 25% are specific, but only about 4 or 5% are actually experts. And that's where the margin is in growing your business. It's becoming an expert and nailing down that niche.
Exactly.
So would you have any good examples of companies that have brand authority?
I can think of the top of my head maybe of two. APC, for example, whenever you hear the brand APC, you would go to, it's power supplies. Uninterruptible power supplies, or power supplies in general. Those are, this is a household brand that will supply power to data centers, but also private companies or smaller companies, or even individuals that need uninterrupted power, and they're absolute experts in what they do is at least what I associate with them. The other one would be, for example, Cisco. So when I hear Cisco, I hear data centers and experts of setting up data centers and creating large-scale computing.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk a little bit about how you measure brand authority, and it's something a lot of brands, I feel, have really struggled with over the years. Obviously, because a lot of things are traditional, and it's really hard to measure things traditionally if you're advertising through newspapers or TV ads, and it's really hard to measure that. Yeah. Whereas you can measure via market share, but luckily now in the past few years with technology and that, there's plenty of software out there now to measure all of a brand's online activity, which can really help you, find out. There's a lot of the
it's more precise.
Yeah, it's more precise, exactly. That's the term I was looking for. And the market share, I suppose, is a big one that they find against their competitors. But also a good way of doing a surveying your current customers and maybe prospects to find out in your key products, your key services you're offering, where do they rank you in that offering? Like, are you the authority? Are you the leader in your industry?
Yes.
Or are they thinking of your competitors first? So that's a great way to find out, going straight to the horse's mouth, more or less, and finding out directly from your clients or prospects what they feel in that area.
It's now easier than ever for companies that even don't want to spend a lot of money on it to use the Google Search Console and find out if their industry-specific keywords are being searched for example, in conjunction with their brand name.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So that is one way to measure it. But you could, for example, as well look at hashtag usage on social, right? Brand mentions in that way that is connected with your brand authority, with your specific industry vertical. But again, like we established in the beginning, you have to have that niche, because if you're doing everything, it's going to be very hard to pinpoint if you're having the brand authority, if you're having an impact. Yeah. I've seen this in larger corporations that are diversified, right? Mm-hmm. If you have 15 different things you're doing, you can measure for the 15 things individually, but as a complete brand, it might be hard.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, most larger companies that have that problem split, for example, the product off as a sub-brand, right? So you have, for example, Google split off Nest.
Yeah.
And Nest is, for example, its own brand. It's an own product, but it's also its own brand. And you can then check Nest against, for example, Alexa or Google or what's the other one called? The Apple one.
Oh, the I can't remember.
Yes.
The Apple one.
Yeah,
Siri.
Yeah. So you can measure against those, but you don't measure Google against those, because it would be pointless to measure Google against Alexa, for example, against Amazon.
Yeah.
The two brands don't connect at that same level. They might have just a product that competes. Right?
Yeah, very good. Yeah. And how do you think brand authority is measured in success online? How do you measure it?
Getting ourselves down to social sharing. If a brand is mentioned a lot on social, obviously they're doing something right, because people aren't going to talk about a brand that they don't like.
Well, they might talk about them in a bad way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The other side of it.
It's positive intent. Then that's one way that's going to be positive. Also, looking at SEO as well. Yes, there's loads of software that's been used to measure the brand and how authoritative they are online. However, they are just key metrics.
Yeah.
You have Moz, you have SEMrush, you have Ahrefs, but they all have different criteria on how they measure brand authority. However, you can also block those from your website, so not every website is going to give you the key indicator on how authoritative a brand is.
Yeah, but that's just technology, isn't it? There's always a wee bit of give and take.
Yeah, of course.
But it's the bigger scheme of things. I remember reading one time that a survey by Demand Gen Report, actually, I think it was, and that 90% or 96% of B2B buyers, they're craving for like insights from thought leadership, or from thought leaders in their industry. And I think that really is a big marker to say that there's a massive opportunity for businesses there to establish their authority online.
Yeah.
Because people are craving for it, because there's so much information out there that people are ignoring, but they just want to find somebody who's a leader, who's an expert in their field that they trust and they can keep coming back to because they trust him. And that's this 96%, which is huge. So there's a massive opportunity for companies and brands to actually, take over their industry and their niche with the.
It's a move that we see a lot of times, that a lot of companies that have this brand authority either already established or have fledgling authority and are leaders and thought leaders, and maybe even just locally will try and move from the doing to the thinking more. They will. It's not so much a rebrand; it's more like a consolidation of their capital, of their talent, right? And then they will become more and more consultancies.
Yes.
Right. So you would have the pipe manufacturer, and then at some point they say like, okay, we're gonna wind down the production of these pipes, right? Because everyone can kind of make pipes.
Yeah.
But we can help other businesses make the pipes really well. Yeah. And then therefore we become a consultancy, and our manufacturing stuff takes a backseat to that, right? Yeah. But it's a decision that any company needs to do for themselves. It's not something that can be said, today I want to be a consultancy. It's like it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It doesn't. It can't be decided without having a good reason for it, because becoming a consultancy is the hardest part for any company, but it reaps the largest reward afterwards.
Yeah.
Because you're no longer selling a product, you're now selling knowledge, and knowledge is way more expensive than the product will ever be. Because just logically, I mean, you have the knowledge to make something, right? Teach a man to fish, right?
Yeah.
And he will be fed for the rest of his life, right?
Yeah.
So you want to sell that for a lot more than you would just the fish.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. That was excellent.
Again, we're in a situation where we get content pushed at us all the time. Go on social, every post is part of that's going to be down to someone pushing out information in front of you. So people now know the difference between good information and bad information.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're starting to the extravaganza on Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot has kind of sort of ended with ads being really cheap, because your eyeballs, have decreased the people that watch the ads.
Yeah.
It's a finite resource
that
you have, right? So when you have less of those, the ads become more expensive. At the same time, you have no way to measure the quality, even though you're targeting. So you need to think about these thought leaders, and some call them influencers, right?
Yeah.
Some companies even made it a brand as an influencer. I'm talking about LinkedIn, influencers, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is where things are definitely going.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it's also, but on the other hand, we have these influencers that are like huge, or millions of followers.
Kardashians.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But they run into the same problem that we said about brand authority. They don't have a niche, right? They might have millions of followers, but they're so generic that your efficiency or even the efficacy of your ad or a promotion that they might want to push is going to be completely pointless for a pipe manufacturer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You might as well just go to someone smaller, way more specialized, right?
Yeah.
And so brand authority and goes also into not just like a company, but it's also personal branding, right? You're a thought leader, you're the expert in this field.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as
Exactly,
like
right.
content actually comes onto it quite a lot, written content on your website,
Yeah.
because it's there 24/7, 365, so working for you the whole time.
Exactly.
And if you can be nice and consistent and putting out that quality content, it just compounds over time.
Yeah.
You're just building it up all the time, and it'll attract more people to your
Yeah.
business through that way organically from
Yeah.
searching on Google when they are looking for them answers rather than
And
being shoved up in social.
And the more specific you are,
Yeah,
the better
yeah, exactly.
about topics, because a lot of people go like, oh, I'll write some content for a blog on the website, right? But it's non-specific, it's just generic. It doesn't need to be artificially targeted. It needs to solve a very specific problem that someone's having, because all the other content has already been written